France and Fiji this weekend, folks, from Bordeaux. A chance for both sides to bounce back after disappointing results, especially in the final 20 last week. The South Africans did a number on the French, and they've made a bunch of changes. The Fijian side is remarkably stable, but they'll be very familiar with playing rugby in France, many of them. We'll go through the squads, what are the changes, some of the stats, predictions, guys to look out for, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how this weekend's match is going to go. For the French, the big return of Charles Ollivon, of Grégory Alldritt. You feel like these are a couple of welcome bits of news in the forward pack, although personally, I'm not used to seeing Ollivon in the second row. I'm more used to seeing him in the back row. He's going to be alongside Taofifenua, despite what the graphic says. That's the graphic from the initial team naming. But Miafu has been since withdrawn from the squad, so they've gone with one big lock in Miafu to another big lock with Taofifenua, and then another potential big lock in Maxime on the bench, who could get his debut. He's another big unit, the Po man. So tight headlock, seemingly no problem for this French side, and Ollivon, I guess, is more of the skills guy alongside the big lump. Plus, Jean-Baptiste Gros gets a start this week after being on the bench. They will be looking to up the scrummaging game. Marchand and Montagne are still continuing on from the French performance against the South Africans. And then Jelonch, Jegou, and Alldritt is a kind of much changed back row. Jelonch is the only continuation there. Jegou's up from the bench. And Alldritt is not only back after being out in the wilderness last week, but he is captain for this game. Fabien Galtier did say they were planning to rotate anyway, but it just seems like an interesting one to rest him one week and then suddenly he's not only back in, but as captain. Lucu is also taking the role of 9 this week after being on the bench. Remember, he had been coming back from injury, so it kind of made sense not to rush him too much, but he is back trusted with that 9 jersey. Ntamack is there at 10. Feel like would like to get a better game. Don't know that he was as impactful as we would like to see from the usual Romain Ntamack at number 10. And then Barassi switches from 13 to 12. Depoortere up from the bench. And the back three is unchanged. They did try a number of those kicks through for Penaud, for Bielle-Biarrey. And, Ramos was often the guy doing the kicking. It worked once, but that was about it. So it might be nice to see a little bit more variation, but also get the ball out to Bielle-Biarrey. We've seen him when he can kick and grubber, the good things happen, but we didn't really get to see as much of that last week as we would have liked. Bench-wise, Lamothe, Neti, and Laclayat are big changes on the bench. It's an all-new front row replacement, and as I said, potential debutant lock in the number 19 jumper. Orodo continues on the bench. Boudillon is down to the bench, so it's a 6-2 split with Jeannot and Gaetan covering essentially halfback and then other positions in the back line. So, yeah, it is a bit of a changed French lineup. They started so well against South Africa, but were really outmuscled as the game went on. They'll be looking to get better impact from the bench for sure. Although Galtier did also mention, it's first game back in a while, limited training time, the kind of usual first match back stuff from him. For Fiji, remember they did play England last week, and they are the reigning Pacific Nations Cup champions. They've had a win over Scotland. They'll be a bit disappointed with the way things went against England, particularly they had a try as the game kind of went tit for tat, chalked off as Kurivoli kind of lost the ball forward over the line. If they get that try, maybe they stay in that game, but they didn't get it, and the game kind of shifted England's way in the final 20 minutes. They'll be looking to go the full 80 this week. Maui, Kanaveri, and Dongier, no changes in the front row. If they can get parity at scrum time, that'll be good things so they can get the back line going. Remember, they did score maul tries as well, though. They only scored 3 tries last week, and 2 were from Ikanaveri, the hooker. So it's not just about the back line. You certainly can't sleep on the Fijian forwards. Nasilasila and Mayana-Vanua continue on as the locks. Nasilasila is quite the liner operator. And then Soakula, who got his debut last week, remember, former All Black, was getting the offload game going at number 6. French fans will be familiar with him from his time in the top 14. Tanakai Vata and Mata are the other 2 Lucies. And then Kurivoli Muntz, 9-10 combo. They're kind of steady as she goes. Kurivoli was looking to get a bit of sniping action going last week. Tuisova is the big unit at 12, but he was getting more of the turnovers going last week than the big blockbusting ball carry, so we'd like to see him more getting some go-forward ball. Revovo is there, still at 13. Ravutamanda, Wainingolo, and Rayasi. So it's an unchanged 15. The only team changes come on the bench. One is in the front row replacements with Tim Hoyt, former England under-20s guy, who will get his debut as the tight head replacement. Hetet and Togitama are still there as the other front row replacements. Voasese is there as the lock replacement. Salawa, who was initially named in the squad last week, comes in on the bench. And Samwai, Ramstrong-Vula, and Mangala are the 3-back replacements. So it's a 5-2 split for 5-3 split for the Fijians in this one. Last week, with the stats, I mean, France, well, they put a decent amount of boot to ball, which maybe makes sense against the South Africans. But, yeah, the run meters just were not there. Like in the Six Nations this year, we've seen games where they got 400 run meters, 600 run meters. Like they're a team that still, even if they're putting boot to ball, gets lots of go-forward action with guys with the ball in hand. Last week was 274. And that's against South Africa, who a lot of teams struggle to get go-forward ball against. But unlike most teams who play South Africa, France, having the extra man for as long as they did, had more possession and more territory. A lot of teams struggle to get those numbers against South Africa because they don't have the ball. France had the ball, but couldn't quite crack them, so they would love to improve that against the Fijians. Fijians are not going to be the same defensive unit that the South Africans are. I don't think there's any disrespect in saying that. Fiji, cracking side, number 9 in the world, but South Africa right now are number 1. They're on a different level, but you can't sleep on them because they do have a bunch of cracking defenders. For Fiji, similar last week, 295 run meters against England, which is their lowest this year. So they were kept quiet by the English defensive effort. They still love an offload, though. I mean, England, their entire team, I think, had 4 offloads. Rayasi on his own had 4. Sowakula had 3. The wings had 2 each. They had like 17 in total. So if Fiji can get the offload game going, they can get it to click. Plus, they got the forward pack doing their thing. Maybe get an odd maul try. Maybe good things potentially happen. They have beaten France before. In France, that was back in 2018. It was a 21-14 win. But the most recent match between the sides in 2023 was a French victory, 34 points to 17. So generally, France are pretty comfortable favourites over Fiji. Over the last 5, it's been 4-1. But that goes all the way back to 2003. And pretty much all those games are played in France, barring a 2003 World Cup game in Australia. So they haven't played in Fiji for a very, very long time. But the average is 37-17 for what that's worth. The rugby forecast algorithm says the Fijians are not going to win this one. They have got the French winning this one by 22 points. And the bookies are saying by 23. So France, pretty comfortable favourites in Bordeaux. Englishman Christophe Ridley is the ref for this one. What do you guys reckon? Do France bounce back after the disappointment of last week? Or is it possible Fiji catch them a little bit underdone? You guys let us know your thoughts. It should be a pretty exciting one. 9-10 kickoff in France, which is 9-10 kickoff for me here in NZ, which puts it directly at the same time as Ireland, Australia, which is unfortunate, but watch one, then watch the other. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.